We're nearing the end of Metal Month at Toontrack.com, where they release a bunch of cool new metal-themed products and release a bunch of free cool content we can all learn from, just like this video here. So I hope you geared up, and I hope you learned something. I present to you the survival guide to EZdrummer 3. Knowing what you have and what to acquire is a great way to prep for survival. The EZdrummer 3 core product has 3 libraries you can load up, and within those libraries are 7 separate drum kits. What also is included is over 2,500 drum MIDI files. Toontrack calls these files grooves. So only owning the core product of EZdrummer 3 gives you a legit arsenal. And when you're ready, you can buy expansion packs for EZdrummer 3. Toontrack calls these EZXs. EZXs have additional libraries, drum kits, and grooves. So let's define a library real quick. You can select a library from the first drop-down menu up here. A library is a specific recording studio that one or more drum kits were recorded in by a specific engineer and performed by a specific drummer. Drums on their own sound particular, but who records them and in what room is where the magic happens. Each library also includes many presets to help you get a sound to start with quickly. The EZdrummer 3 core program comes with 3 libraries, all recorded by Michael Ilbert in the main room, which has 2 drum kits, the tight room, which has 3 drum kits, and the bright room, which has 2 more drum kits. When you buy an EZX, an EZdrummer expansion, they usually only come with 1 library, though some of them have more, and they always come with more than 1 drum kit or configuration and additional grooves. As we go through this survival guide, if you find we're jumping into the deep end too quick, report to link number 1 down in the description. I have a beginner's playlist that'll help you get set up in some basic beginner tutorials. So the core product and the EZXs, both of these come with sounds and grooves, but there's a third product called Drum MIDI Packs. That third product only has grooves. So now that we know what the EZdrummer 3 line has to offer, pack up what you need and let's move out. When it comes to the drums tab, there's more than meets the eye. Toontrack recorded more than 1 kick drum, 1 snare drum, or more than 1 of everything you see here actually. So let me select the snare drum. We see it's highlighted, and I'll go to this upper left menu. This is called the instruments list. I'll select it. Here's all the snare drums that came with the main room library. We're working in the main room right now. I'll just select these snare drums and I can hear them, and I'll just leave the one selected that I like the sound of. We'll stick with Black Beauty for right now, okay? Let me click play. Also up here is a volume knob and a tuning knob, so I can quick mix just this snare drum with this kit real quick. It's convenient. Now I don't have to go over to the mixer tab. That volume knob has other duties, but right now the convenience of quick mixing is good. Also have a tuning knob. I'll just tune it up a little bit. Maybe you want to tighten the tension on the snare, or maybe attempt like a piccolo sound or something like that. Also over here, if you own other EZdrummer 3 products, you can access all the drums from those products here in this little tiny drop-down menu list that'll expand and show you everything you own. So it's pretty darn handy. Here's a quick survival tip: is you can actually group select instruments on this page. So I like to do this when it comes to toms and cymbals. You can lower them all or up at the same time. So I'll just select this first cymbal, I'll hold shift, and I'll just select everything I want to group select, anything you want. If we look up here in the instrument list, it says I have the ride selected, but it also says in parentheses, plus 4 more instruments. So now I'm controlling the volume or the pitch of that entire group. It's pretty cool. So if you want absolute elite training on the drums tab, report to link number 2 down in the description. Besides having access to individual kit pieces, there's presets where you can change your entire sound with 1 click, but there's more to it than just that. Remember, this first menu changes our library or switches over to whatever EZdrummer 3 product you purchased. I'm going to switch over to the bright room, which is included with your EZdrummer 3 core purchase. And on the drums tab still, this image, it just represents the library. Nothing visually changes about it when you switch out your drum kit pieces or change presets. No other information comes from it. So a quick survival tip is I like to stay on the mixer tab when I look for sounds, because when you change presets, options on the mixer tab change. No options on the drums tab change. So hop over to the mixer tab. Now over here on the presets menu, I'm going to start right here in the middle on original mix. If I select it, there's no effects. This is where the effects live. But there's a few cool things about this. One is you're going to have the highest channel count. I have the most amount of kick drum microphones, snare microphones. I have isolated toms in their own channel, the most amount of ambient tracks, and so on. So that's why I like original mix. But more so is when you select original mix, you're going to hear the rawest, untreated tones of these drums. So when I get a brand new EZX, I always go to original mix. And let's check it out ourselves. So this is what the bright room sounds like, raw, no effects, most amount of control with the channels. And what else I like to do before I move into the presets, which are really will change up the sound, what else I like to do is go into the presets menu, and then there's a drum kits menu. And if you remember, the bright room has two separate drum kits, one's called modern, one's called vintage. Now here's how you can load a different kit into the preset. So that's what I like to do. I like to load up original mix and then test out all the different drum kits so I have a good idea of the foundation of where all the sounds derive from. Let's make one quick observation before we check out a few presets. The name of these presets are drums and mixer presets. So that's to remind you that when you switch presets, not only are you getting different tones, but you're getting different options on the mixer tab. You're losing options, gaining options. So you have to weigh out what you want. So let's try out Michael Ilbert's classic preset, which is the default. And we have plenty of microphone channels, which is great. We have some bleed. We have some compression, we have some tape, which is saturation. So if you're not really sure what to do with bleed or you want to learn more, never mind all these microphone duties, report to link number 3 in the description and check out my bleed videos, okay? So let's move on. Let's go to a Toontrack preset, for example. Millennium Metal's definitely a popular one. And boy, did that tone change. It sounds pretty fantastic, but we lost a lot of channels, okay? Single kick, single snare. We have a tom bus now. We only have one ambient mic, but that sounds great. So can you deal with less channels for this tone? That's the question, but we also get more effects. Definitely super cool. So here's the idea when you're getting your drum tone, and definitely lean in for this. Before you go to the drums tab and start customizing what drums you want for each of these instrument slots, don't do that first. Because when you change your preset, all of that customization work is lost and you'll have to do it all over again. Here's the survival workflow. Find what preset you want first. Let's say I want Millennium Metal. Click on that, load that in. That's your foundation. Start with the preset. Then go to the drums tab and then decide what snare and what tom set you want, or swap out anything you need, volumes and tunings. And then when you finally found a preset, then customize your drums, then you go to the presets menu, go to user presets and save your work. So now you have your own preset and it's living with all the other presets forever or until you delete it. So now that we have our sound, what do? Before we move on, let me cover 2 frequently asked questions. Often users will take their mouse and they'll click on the drums and they'll go, yes, that's the sound I'm looking for. I'm going to stick with that. But then they play a beat, or they're behind their E-kit and they're tapping on it and they're going, where did that sound go? It doesn't sound so powerful anymore. The reason is when you click with your mouse to audition these individual instruments, you're hearing it at 100% velocity with mouse clicks. 100% velocity is the loudest that drummer was willing to play while recording that Toontrack session. So unless you're using a beat or a groove from Toontrack that's all out war playing, or unless you're an EZdrummer that's hitting his kit as hard as you can, that's why you don't hear the tone like that. And there's plenty of ways to fix it. So if you need some help with velocity, report to link 4 in the description where I go soup to nuts on velocity. So another thing that I want to talk about before we go is if you're an EZdrummer or keyboardist or a finger drummer and you're tapping on a key or playing on a pad and you're not hearing the instrument that you were hoping to hear, you can change the mapping in EZdrummer. So go to settings, go to eDrums, select the instrument in question, and then switch over to mapping right here. And here's where you can change the note value so you can trigger the correct drum with the correct note. It's a pretty straightforward mixing experience on the mixer tab, but let me see if I can optimize your workflow. We're here on the mixing tab and You're probably just dragging your sliders up and down, sliders left and right, toggling your mute solos, and working with the knobs. And you can get far and you can own a mix just knowing that. But here's some tips. I want to group all my rack toms, or whatever you feel like grouping, okay? I'm going to click and hold on the first rack tom. I click on the label and I'm going to drag to the right. Now all my toms are a part of a group and now they all move, mute, and solo together. And you don't necessarily have to click a label of a channel to select it. You just select like a blank part of it. But I get way less buggy results by clicking on the labels, okay? Another way to select all those toms is I'll select the first tom and I'll hold shift and I'll select the last tom. And then you can do custom groups, not just groups in a linear format. I'm going to hold Control on PC, Command on Mac, and I can just select whatever I want to add to that group or take out of that group. Check this move out. That comes in really important later when you're mixing. It's fantastic. If I want to get these knobs or faders to unity gain, you double click on them. So let's work here on the hi-hat. Let's say this is too loud. I'll just double click on this, or I'll bring it back up. I could hold Control or Option on Mac and click on it. That'll bring it back to unity. And then these knobs really don't have a unity gain. They just have a default state. So if you want to bring a knob back to its default state, you just hold Control or Command on Mac to do that. Now, I have high mouse sensitivity, so I'm moving up and down. You see how much ground I'm covering. It's hard to fine tune that. If I hold Shift, I'll do that in 3, 2, 1. Look how slow that moves now. Super slow. That's how you fine tune your settings. Works the same way with knobs. I'm going to hold it in 3, 2, 1. Bam. See how I can fine tune those knobs? It's pretty fantastic. Here's one more good one here. A lot of us like to, put up a beat, or we're listening to our song. We want to solo up these channels. So if I want to solo the hi-hat, I'll solo it. And if I want to move to the snare, I got to unsolo the hi-hat and then solo the snare, right? And it's all this lots of clicking to get on and off these solos. Well, if you hold Alt on PC, which is Option on Mac, when you solo something and then solo the next thing, it unsolos your last thing immediately. So it really helps you move your soloing around. It's absolutely fantastic. One thing a lot of users don't pick up right away when it comes to effects is sometimes the effects affect individual channels. And it's right there in your face and it's obvious, but sometimes they don't. Sometimes they affect the entire mix, but there's no visual cue. When you load up a drums and mixer preset that has an effects module here underneath all the channels and you click and turn one of the macro knobs, you see orange highlighted tracks. Now that means that this knob is only affecting the tracks that are highlighted. So that might be a good cue for you to solo up these tracks and listen to what that effect is doing and make sure you want it and dial it in there. As you can see, that it depends on what knob I'm turning is what channel is highlighted. Now what you're going to run into is you're going to hit macro knobs like this. I'm turning it, I'm clicking it, and nothing is highlighting. That means no individual channel is being affected. And people get confused because that means that effect is on the master drum bus. If we look behind me down here, this is the master volume, which I consider a master fader. And the effects that do not highlight any tracks, those effects are applied directly on EZdrummer 3's output here at the master fader. Here's a survival tip that I love. When you choose a preset you love the sound of, but all the toms are grouped or bussed together in one stereo channel, or in general, if you want to control individual cymbal volumes, but they're always grouped into a stereo channel of overheads, what do? How do we control them? I went back to that Millennium Metal Drums and Mixer preset, and if we look on the Mixer tab, there's no individual tom channels. They're all jammed together, grouped together, bussed together on this stereo channel. You can't isolate them. You can only turn them down or up. So let me hit play on this beat. It's a good Darby Todd beat from the Big Stage EZX. If we go on the drums tab, let's just pretend there's a problem. Let's say the highest tom, I want it louder. So I select the instrument in question that's stuck in that group on the Mixer tab, and I use its instrument's volume knob on the instruments list, and that's how we can isolate volumes outside of group channels on the Mixer tab. It's great. And the same theory works when it comes to the cymbals in the overheads. on the mixer tab, all of our cymbals are bussed together here. So you could just select the cymbal in question, turn it up or down here. So that's how you get around buses and groups if you really want to use that drums and mixer preset. Cymbals are traditionally grouped through the overheads. That's just how it goes. But if you really need isolation, there's a few products for you. Besides the electronic or one-shot themed EZXs, there's 3 products that had overachieving engineers. There's Duality 1 and Duality 2 by Jacob Herman, and there's Modern Metal by Will Putney. Those 3 EZXs have isolated cymbals on the original mix preset. A lot of users out there are really particular about when they mix with EZdrummer 3, and there's 2 options. You can route the mixer tab directly out to your DAW and have total control over the EZdrummer 3 mixer tab in your DAW, or you can bounce audio tracks. I have a Reaper session up, but this works in every major DAW. I'll just hit play in Reaper, and you'll notice that the signals here in the mixer tab are generally reflected in my signals in my Reaper session. So if I select my kick drum and mute it, we'll notice now we don't hear that direct kick drum mics anymore, and it's muted in Reaper. Same thing with the snare channel right here. So we can actually route out every individual track in any way we wish to our DAW and have complete control in our DAW. So now you can add third-party effects, or in this case, let me solo up the kick drum. I just have some easy mix. We hear that kick drum and just throw an effect on it right there like that. So that's how you route out. It's amazing. Now report to my link number 5 down in the description to learn how to route this in your specific DAW. I only want to take it so far in this survival guide, but I have the video that's right for you. Check the description. And lastly, if I go back over to EZdrummer, a lot of people don't want to route out in real time like I just did. That's usually my preference. A lot of people want individual audio files called stems instead. If that's you, check this out. Notice my MIDI is in the song track of EZdrummer 3. It's not in my DAW. I'll go over to the mixer tab, and at the bottom of every channel, we have a separate output we can assign. So for every individual audio stem you want, assign a separate output. Once you've done that, go to the track menu, go to export song as audio files, and follow the prompts, and now you have EZdrummer 3 stems to mix in your DAW. We've only been working on sound-related things up until this point, but the other half of EZdrummer 3 is writing, so let's get to the tools. Let's hop over to the Grooves tab. This tab helps you sort through all of your MIDI. Remember, EZdrummer 3 comes with at least 2,500 grooves, and never mind enthusiasts like myself, we start at least 100,000 plus grooves. So you don't want to spend all your time thumbing through individual MIDI files. You'll never get around to producing your music. You need a tool. This is the tool. Lean into this. You'll save more time on the Grooves tab than doing anything else in EZdrummer. Let's start with the first tool over here. It's called Tap to Find. I'll click on it. I hear a live metronome, meaning, hey, click and tap to this metronome. Let's check it out. So I tapped a simple backbeat-based beat, and what that means is, hey, Grooves tab, listen to this beat and find me similar beats to it. I'm guiding the search results on my Grooves tab. I'll hit the play button. I'll just delete this stuff by clicking on it. Or if you're used to step sequencing, you can just, write in your own drum beat. So I just did a little Pretty Woman thing right here. Now, once you have your beat from Tap to Find, click on Search. And over here, I'll introduce to you this big spot in the middle of the screen. Here's your search results area. It listened to what Tap to Find did, and it said, hey, here's the results. I'll click on the first beat. It's almost perfect. I'll listen to the second beat. Yeah. The snare and the kick is perfect there almost every time. So that's how important Tap to Find is. And let me tell you, Tap to Find does way more than this. So report to link number 6 down in the description for advanced Tap to Find training. I'm going to hit this orange clear all chip right here, which resets the Grooves tab so we can start from scratch. A blank slate, it's great. Let's focus on this left column over here. Each folder represents what drum-related Toontrack product I've ever bought. If you only own EZdrummer 3, you only see these 2 folders. I obviously been collecting stuff for a long time. I have a problem. I need help. But down here, we see all the 𝐒𝐍𝐾𝐋s I ever bought. Those include MIDI. Remember, I covered this at the beginning of the video. Down here, I see my Superior Drummer MIDI files down here. EZdrummer can't play the Superior Drummer sounds, but it can play its MIDI, so that's quite handy. And down here, I have those drum MIDI add-on packs. Never mind, Toontrack allows you to bring in your own third-party MIDI, which was very cool for them to do. Now, as we select a product, it will open up into subcategories. The hierarchy opens up. And here we might have genres and we might have individual songs. So you invested in EZdrummer. It basically comes with a secretary. Use that secretary. Look how easy it is to navigate through individual products. Now, if you're not utilizing the filter columns on the Grooves tab, you're missing out on time in your life. You could be saving so much time. So lean into this and just make sure you know this workflow. Let me hit that orange clear all chip again to get back to a blank slate. And remember, this is my search results area. And since I own so many products, probably have 100,000 grooves just sitting in this area. By clicking on just a few filters, I could narrow that down to 100 or even just a few grooves and possibly find the perfect drum beat. So make a little more real estate so we can see all these keywords, these filters. And you might see more on my screen because I own more products, okay? It's metal month, so I'll select metal. I want 4/4 time signature because I want to keep bobbing my head straight. I want an open hi-hat on the power hand. Report to link number 7 down in the description if you want some elite power hand training. And I just want some straight beats with some double bass. So here we go. 5 filters, and let's hear this first groove from my filter selection. Yeah. I'm bobbing my head. It's a straight beat. It's 4/4. It's got an open hi-hat. I hear some double kick. It's a metal beat, right? So that worked out really well. That's how you should use the filters. Fill in as many as possible. And if you have too few results or you don't get what you're looking for, remove some. That's a survival tip. If you're not getting the search results you're looking for, start removing filters one at a time. The search results will come back and populate more. And for enthusiasts that are ready, if you look up here in the header of these columns, you can right click on it and reveal 2 more columns. I like to use the resolution column a lot. For example, I want my beat to be 8th note bass, so I'll just select 8th note, for example. Let me clear all with this orange chip here. One thing I want to show you is this, is if you only own EZdrummer 3 or a few Toontrack products, you might go on their site and read about their other drum MIDI, but really not know exactly what it sounds like. Well, you can listen to exactly what it sounds like for free right out of EZdrummer. It's absolutely amazing. It's called the Webshop Midi button. When you click on it, you just give it a minute or two, and it's going to connect to the databases, and you'll be able to audition in EZdrummer all of the MIDI you do not yet own and try it out before you buy it. I don't know how much better of a service Toontrack could provide by just letting you hear everything. And when that Webshop Midi button's done doing its business, you'll start noticing all these folders with little blue icons on them. Those are the products you don't own yet, and you can navigate through them. You can play the files you don't own yet, and if you want to check out the product page for a potential purchase, you just hit this little web button right here. The first thing I ask myself when I open up EZdrummer is, do I already have a song to work with, or am I looking for inspiration to write a song? Now, if you already have a song to work with, I recommend entering the tempo information in here or in your DAW. And the reason why is when you play a groove, no matter what groove you play, it will play back at your project or DAW's tempo, so everything works with the song you have in mind already. Now, if you're coming to EZdrummer 3 for inspiration, I recommend selecting this original tempo button. When you do that, all these grooves play back at their original tempo that they were recorded at. If you look in this tempo column right here, this one was recorded at 147 BPMs. So with the original tempo button down, now we hear it at 147. This one down here is recorded at 83. Let's click on that. Different tempo. So original tempo button is super key. You do have some editing features here on the Grooves tab. For example, let's stay with this one. If I want to hear this beat twice as slow, next to the original tempo button is the feel button, so I can half time it. Go back to regular time where we were originally at, or double time it. There's also some feels down here if you're working with triplets and straight feels and you want to kind of mix and match, okay? Also, you can edit velocity. I can make this drummer hit quieter or harder. And you want to make these adjustments before you drag the groove down to the song track, and then these adjustments will be applied. Now let me take what I demonstrated on the Grooves tab and build out a super fast song. It is metal month. I could go into the EZdrummer 3 folder. I could find the metal folders in here and just thumb through these songs if I wish. It's a good way to explore your products. I'm going to clear all that. I'm going to use filters instead. I'll use the metal filter. I want straight 4/4. I want ride beats. Let's say that beat was so amazing, I want to base an entire song around it. I could grab this groove and drag it to the song creator, and the song creator under song parts is just going to make a ton of recommendations on what I should use as separate song parts based around that beat. Now report to link number 8 in the description below for Elite training. I have a full free song creator series. I'm going to close the song creator, and let's say this is the beat I really like. I'll drag it to the timeline. The Toontrackian definition for timeline is song track. This area is called the song track, okay? And let me just redo a filter. I'm going to reset my power hand filter. You can right click on it for options, but I like to click this little orange clear circle. We've removed it, and I want some open hi-hats. Let's just see what's going on down here. All right, let's say I like that. And let me do lastly a crash for the power hand. Let's say that's our chorus. Now, if you look through I'm going to clear all. If you look through the product folders, most of the time you're going to see songs broken out into song structures, intro, verse, pre-chorus, chorus. Now, those are just suggestions because of, the vibe going on in the studio when they recorded this session. But those are just suggestions that are subjective. In my song, a verse could be a chorus or a bridge could be a verse, right? So down here, I have 3 groove blocks that just say verse and they're blue. So here's how you organize your song track so it visually looks appealing and you can see things at a glance very quickly. Let's say this is my verse, so I'll keep it blue. It's labeled verse. Let's say I want this to be the pre-chorus. I'll right click on it. I'll go to song part and I'll go to the yellow pre-chorus. Now I've relabeled it and recolor coded it. I want this to be my chorus. I'll right click and I'll make it a chorus. Now, if you see a label that's missing or a color that you want, you can right click, go to song parts and go to manage user song parts and create your own song parts with their own unique color. The basics of editing in the song track are similar to editing in a word processor. If I select the word verse, right click on it and hit copy, which is Control-C or Command-C, and then I place the cursor where I want it before I right click again and hit paste, which is Control-V or Command-V, I've now copied the verse from here to here. That also works with cut. If I don't want this pre-chorus here, but I want it somewhere else, I'll select it, right click and hit cut, and then I'll place the cursor where I want it, right click and hit paste. Over here on the song track, I can grab these tiny dots and drag upwards, get more real estate. And now I'll right click on this verse. I'll hit copy. I'll put the cursor where I want it. Now right click directly on that cursor, right on the CTI, paste all. And that's how we paste. And you can do the same thing with cut. What I like to do is duplicate if I have the option, which I'll hold Control on PC. This is Option on Mac, and I'll just click and drag whatever I want to duplicate. I want this pre-chorus, right? I want this chorus. So it happens pretty quick. Let's make selections. I can drag a box or a marquee around whatever I want. I'll select these 3 grooves right here. I'll let go. See the headers highlight? That means they're selected. That's a way to select multiples. Or I can select the first one in a series, hold Shift, and select the last one in the series. I'll select these 4 in 3, 2, 1. Now these 4 are selected, and then you can do a custom selection. After I've selected these 4, maybe I want to exclude the pre-chorus. I'll hold Control, which is Option on Mac, and I'll deselect that middle one. Now I can copy just these 3 if I wanted and put them over here. All this stuff works exactly the same in the grid editor, except we're working with dots instead of entire grooves, so you can select, right click, copy, duplicate, put your cursor where you want it, and paste. Now, one thing to keep note of is when you're editing, notice I'm dragging my cursor on the side of these grooves. That means I can grab the side and scrub them back and forth. See how I can only scrub 2 measures at a time? Well, same for both Toontrack and Grid Editor. The more you zoom in, the higher your resolution gets. Now I can scrub to a half a measure. And the more I zoom in, I could scrub even all the way down to like a 30-second note if I really needed to, okay? The Grid Editor is a beast in EZdrummer 3, and I'm only going to cover its most popular feature, the Humanize button. But if you want to learn every single detail of the Grid Editor, report to link number 9 in the description and check out my Grid Editor course. We're about to check out the Humanize button, but let's play with something on the Grooves tab real quick. Under the Type Filter column, I'm going to select Normal Time. I'm going to hit play. This is a typical normal feel. It's where the snare lands on the 2 and the 4. Now, if I do a halftime feel instead, let's listen to where that snare falls now. It's on the 3, and that's a halftime feel. Same tempo, but feels twice as slow. Now let's check out double time. Twice as many snares is double time. So if you can identify where your snares are generically and know the feel, normal time, halftime, regular time, that's really going to benefit you with the Humanize button on the Grid Editor. Let's hop over to the Grid Editor. What I like to do first on the Grid Editor is I like to open up this little velocity lane with this arrow. If you have the screen real estate, remember, check out link 4 in the description where I cover a lot on velocity, okay? Now I open this up because I like to keep an eye on what the Humanize button is up to, okay? So let me program a quick backbeat based beat. Now loop it. And I'm going to right click in a blank area, select all, so all the dots are highlighted and we can see the velocity of all of them down here, okay? Now Humanize, the Humanize button, it's performing a normal velocity humanization. So this is good for a backbeat normal time. That's why it says normal for normal time. Let me expand this menu. Here's the velocity styles. If I select halftime, listen, the snare's quieted up. That doesn't sound strong anymore. That could be what you're going for, but that's not what we're intending to do. Let's hit double time. Here we go. Kind of sounds normal again. Double time humanization can work similar as normal time if you have a normal time beat. Let me hit stop. Let's delete this. Let's do a halftime bass beat. Go back to normal though. Halftime bass beat. Let's listen to this. This is halftime feel with the normal velocity style. Right click, select all. Here's what it all looks like. Peak valley, peak valley, peak valley. It's kind of stiff. Let's go halftime, see if it gets a better pocket. Here we go. Yeah. Dynamics, I'm listening to the hi-hat mostly, by the way. Hi-hats feel like they have a little better pocket. Let's hit double time. It's a little stronger again. All right, you delete this. Last test. Here's a double time feel beat. I'll hit play. With normal velocity style, that feels pretty strong, good. I'm going to right click, select all so we can monitor the velocity. You switch to halftime. It's an interesting beat right there. The snare on the 3 is accented, nothing else is. Let's go over to double time. That feels like the best velocity pocket for a double time groove. So if you can identify the feel of your groove before you use the Humanize button, match it with the velocity style. And of course over here, I'll just hit play again. We can make our drummer hit softer, make sure all your dots are selected. Regular, which we've been hearing, or you can have them drive even harder. And this more menu, I wouldn't even touch it unless you're trying to sync to other performances. Like if I was playing guitar and I was always playing ahead of the beat because that's just how I creatively played or that's how I accidentally played. Then you go to this menu and you say, I want a pushy feel. But if you select these and just hit play, you're not going to hear a difference because every adjustment is perfectly relative. There's no real humanization happening. It's just taking all the dots and scooting them a little forward, a little backwards, so you can match a performance of another instrument. We've been working a lot in the song track and the grid editor, and a lot of users out there are not using EZdrummer for that. They're dragging their MIDI out to their DAW and editing it and arranging it there. And there's a healthy debate to happen on whether you should do it in your DAW or in EZdrummer 3, and whether you made up your mind yet or not. Consider reporting to link number 10 in the description, where I can show you what I think the pluses and minuses of both workflows are, and then you can decide for yourself. But hey, if you do not like that grid editor, you want nothing to do with it, you want Edit Playstyle. We're on the Grooves tab. I'm going to select the EZdrummer 3 MIDI folder. Here's the first beat. Maybe that's the same beat for you as well. Just a simple backbeat-based beat. I'll right-click, I'll loop it, I'll hit play. Now, I can hit this tiny arrow button here. You see it says Edit Playstyle right next to it, or I can select the beat I'm working on and hit the Edit Playstyle button here. Now here's the interface. Hold on tight. We're going to scream right through it. No grid editor, just touching and turning knobs and stuff, okay? If I didn't want this hi-hat as the power hand anymore, I'll grab the power hand little icon here, drag it to somewhere else. Pretty cool. Quick edits. Bring it to the ride. If I wanted to hear a different articulation on an instrument, I'll select this tiny menu here, and I change the articulation. It's pretty cool. Bring it back over the hi-hat. Now, if I wanted to hear more of, let's say, the kick drum, I'll select the kick drum, or I could choose it in this menu here, and I could solo the kick drum to focus on it. And if I want to hear more, I'll just turn up the amount knob. Now we're hearing a lot more. Yeah. It's pretty cool. If I thought this whole beat was too loud or too quiet, I could go into this menu, select all playing drums. You can actually select just groups as well. And I could make it play harder or quieter. Super handy. You can do that on individual drums as well. I could, let's say, make an opening hit. So it'll be a cymbal at the beginning. Here we go. Added a cymbal. That's the opening hit. It's a cymbal on beat 1 of the groove you're working on. Let me cut this hi-hat. Oh, right click on the image of it, cut it. Now the hi-hat's gone. Let's just select an instrument that's not even in play yet. I'll use this first floor tom, and I'll just turn up the amount knob, and it will just invent MIDI right there. Here we go. The grid editor was not used in the making of this portion of the video. Bandmate's a feature where you import your media and it will try to match a drum beat to it. Now, if you're importing MIDI, that's usually a pretty straightforward experience. But if you're bringing in a performance that you played, here's some survival tips. One is you got to play well in time to a metronome so you're pretty close to gridlocked. That's what Bandmate needs to detect. Also, what we need are solid, strong transients. A transient is those peaks in a wave file. The wave file goes up and down. You want really steep, clear peaks. That's what Bandmate wants. So if you have an over-distorted guitar or maybe a softly strumming acoustic, those transients are not super steep, okay? So try to have a tight performance with really steep transients, and Bandmate will probably kick some serious butt for you. Let's hop over to Bandmate and I'll cover all the survival tips. Bandmate works with riffs, not full songs. I'll go to select an audio file that I exported from my DAW, a thrash riff from Metal Month, and notice, look how articulate and steep my transients are, and look at the grid behind if you can see it. It's a reasonably tight performance, all the criteria that I was talking about before. Also, a little trick that I'm experimenting with, which I bet works, is I left the metronome in my performance. So the metronome is also going to give me some transients. So if you're not playing that tight, experiment with leaving your metronome in your audio signal that you import in the Bandmate. That might help Bandmate track you as well, okay? So we have a generic beat from pop rock country. It's metal month. Let's go to metal, select a beat. All right. So what I want to do and what I want to show you here lastly is what I'm looking for is option number 2. And on some beats, it's not highlighted, okay? So let's find a beat that has option 2. This one does right here. This beat seems to be rocking and working. This is a miniature version of edit play style. I can add more snare, more kick, or more or less of the power hand. But this option 2 will make the kick drum latch on to the transients better and try and follow my rhythm hand. So I'll click on it and let's just watch the kick drum row with all these dots at the very bottom. Here we go. Yeah, that kick is more straight with my 8th note guitar playing. That's pretty cool. Now I'll just add some more kick for fun. Watch these dots go up. It's very cool. When I'm done producing my beat, I'll drag it down to the song track, and now I can use all the other tools that I introduced to you in this survival guide and further produce this beat. If you want to watch me beat the crap out of Bandmate, report to link number 11 down in the description. I'm Sean from Shootie School. Check out ShootieSchool.com for hundreds of free videos just like this one, plus complete elaborate courses. I have 2 social groups for daily support, and I make exclusive content for my members. Links to all this are down below. I hope you survived. Now let's prosper.